All right. Well, good afternoon, Mrs. Smith. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. First and foremost, let me thank you for coming in. I know that's a feat in itself, it's an accomplishment, and I just want to kind of praise you for coming in and coming into these sessions. And I hope you're kind of ready to get started.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So first things first, I want to do like a little mood check with you, see how everything's going. So last week, you kind of identified that, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like really, really depressed and 1 being not so depressed, you're at a 7 last week.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how are you doing this week?
I would say I'm still probably around a 6 or a 7, so things are a little bit better, but I'm still working on them.
Okay. Now, is that a 6 or 7, like as far as like you still feeling like...
Yeah, just still feeling, a little depressed.
Okay.
But definitely improving.
Okay, awesome. So, like, well, not awesome, but, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
I apologize. So, first things first, what I want to do is I kind of want to go over the agenda for the rest of the session and kind of highlight what we're going to be doing this session. So, if you recall, last week, at the very end of the session, we kind of came up with a homework assignment where you would identify your automatic negative thoughts when you would feel like negative thoughts. You would jot those down and kind of put a lot of information in there for me and stuff that you couldn't work out on your own. And you were going to bring that in. Were you able to do that?
I was.
Okay. Did you find any difficulties with the homework?
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right, cool. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to go over that. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to set goals. We're going to summarize the session. We're also going to assign more homework, for the next session, and just kind of check in and see how everything's going throughout. All right. So first things first. Like I said, we talked about getting those automatic negative thoughts on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind sharing that with me?
Yeah, that'd be great. So, I jotted down 3 different things, and so first thing I have here is what if my child doesn't love me because I'm too hard on them?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what if I get on my husband's nerves and he doesn't think I'm a good wife? And the third thing I jotted down is, what if I never get a promotion at work because my work, I feel, is never up to par?
Right. Okay. A lot of what ifs going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So if I was going to ask you, which one of those is like the most pressing right now in your life right now? Like something that you feel like we need to address, like this is of the utmost importance for me to address during this session, what would you say?
Well, I would like to focus on, what if my child doesn't love me because I'm too hard on him? As far as my husband, I'm still implementing, the skills you've given me last week. I'm still working on that. And as far as my job goes, maybe that's something we could discuss next session. But this week, me and my son have kind of had a hard week, so if we could focus on that, that'd be great.
That's awesome. Because I do recall that last session we kind of went over some effective communication skills for you and your husband. Like you said, you're still working on that right now.
Right.
And this week right here, you've kind of had a little bit of a rough week with your son, and so you kind of want to address those issues right now. All right, cool. We can definitely do that. So talk to me about give me like a day that something happened, like on a Monday or a Wednesday or Thursday. Talk to me about what made you think my son doesn't love me because I'm too hard on him, or what if?
Yeah, and so. As you know, the kids have been back in school. I mean, they're off next week for Thanksgiving break, but this week, he went to school all week, and so I pick him up from after school care, and then we go home, and he has to start on his homework, and I get dinner ready. He gets ready for bed about 9 o'clock, and so everything was going, as it always does throughout the school week. And he had left his shoes by the couch. And so I said, hey, throw those back in your closet. And he just exploded on me and told me I wasn't a good mom and that I get on his nerves. And that just really bothered me because in my eyes, I'm just trying to keep the house clean. But he doesn't see it that way. He thinks I'm just, being bossy and wanting to tell him what to do. And I hate that he sees me that way. And I feel like it makes him feel like I don't love him when that couldn't be further from the truth.
Okay. So just to kind of get the story correct, you guys are at home, school just started. You asked your son to put away his shoes, at which point he kind of exploded out of nowhere and said, you're a mean mom, and just kind of went off the deep end. And when he said that, you went to your thoughts of maybe I'm too hard, or what if I'm too hard on my child? I'm a bad mom if I'm too hard on my child. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was one instance where you kind of felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you feel, like how, if you're going to rate that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like I truly felt like this is real, like I really feel like he doesn't love me, like he really hates me, or 1 being like, well, kids will be kids, they'll say whatever, in the heat of the moment. How strongly do you feel that your son meant that? How strongly do you feel the thoughts of, I'm not a good mother, after your son said what he said?
Probably about a 7, because although that's one instance, that's not uncommon in our household for him to have, these little outbursts at me. So
Right.
Probably about a 7.
Okay, and if we're kind of going to pinpoint when this most often happens, like for instance, does it happen in the mornings when you guys are on your way to school? Does it happen like when you guys are going to bed, or when does this occur most of the time? These outbursts when he gets really just agitated, just blows up out of nowhere. When would you kind of put a time frame on that? Like when does most of this stuff happen for you?
I would say in the afternoons after school when I'm trying to implement, our routine.
Right. Your routine of putting away your stuff.
Yeah, homework, dinner,
right.
Getting cleaned up before bed,
Okay. And when your son has these anger outbursts and he blows up out of nowhere, what do you notice about your body?
I can just, feel it in my shoulders and my neck. I feel tense. Sometimes I get like a tension headache. That's usually what happens.
So when your son has these outbursts and blows up, you start feeling tense in the shoulder, you start getting tense in the neck, you start getting these headaches, you start really just getting tensed up.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do next after you start getting tensed up, and when you start feeling like, really, what do you do next?
Well, I just tough it out, until I can get him, tucked into bed. And then I normally make myself some coffee and grab a snack and then sit on the couch and, watch one of my favorite shows and just try to, get that out of my mind and try to decompress a little before I fall asleep.
Understand. So, just kind of recapping a little bit, when your son has these outbursts and he gets mad and he flies off the deep end and says the first thing comes out of his mouth and he's thinking, what evidence do you have that supports that he doesn't love you, or that, you're not a good mommy because you're telling him what to do?
Well, for one, when my husband is at home, I feel like he favors him.
Okay.
I feel like him telling me, you get on my nerves, you're so bossy, you're not a good mom. Those things really affect me. And him, preferring his dad over me, that really hurts my feelings too.
Right. Now, has there ever been a situation like not right now, not in these instances where it blows up, but has there ever been a situation where you guys didn't have a blow up during the day, where you guys had a great day? It was something that you would classify as a great day, something that maybe like a day where you didn't have those feelings of, oh my God, I'm not a good mom, or I'm bossy, or what have you, where he didn't blow up. Um, could you maybe think about a time where you guys didn't have a blow up or you didn't feel that way? And what does that look like?
And so, what comes to mind when you ask that is our summers. You know, summers, of course, kids love them, but
absolutely.
And like during this past summer, he was enrolled in like a day camp where a lot of his friends were going. And so I would drop him off on my way to work, and he would, they would go on field trips, you know, go swimming, have snack time. Like, he really enjoyed it. And when I picked him up, he would be in such a good mood.
Right.
And, you know, in the summer, it stays daylight outside a lot longer.
Right.
And so, I mean, and he could stay up later, of course, because he didn't have school the next day. But, like, we would come home, and we didn't have to worry about getting our homework done. We didn't have to worry about getting our clothes for school ready, you know. And so, I mean, it was going, we got along great. You know, he didn't resist me quite so much.
Right.
It seemed like he was just happier. And so, in turn, we got along better.
Okay. So, what I'm hearing is, and something that you kind of described a little bit is like in the summer times, for instance, where he doesn't, or he's not in school, he gets to go out with his friends, stay up a little bit later, you know, go to day camp, or you go to work, and then, you know, he comes home, everything's great because he's in a great mood. So, what I'm understanding is you got him in the summer times, he comes home, he's in a great mood. And you got him in school. And what grade is he in now?
He's in 4th grade.
He's in the 4th grade. So now he's in school in 4th grade. It's a new year for him. He comes home. He very blows up. Just blows up out of nowhere. So do you see a possible alternative to why, you know, he might blow up in one instance and he doesn't have such instances in the summertime?
Well, I guess, you know, school would be the difference in the scenario.
And what do you think? What do you think about him in school?
You know, I feel like they're starting to get more responsibility now in 4th grade, so that, you know, that's the case. He always has a test to study for, it seems. He has homework every night.
Right.
And so I could see how it could be hard on him. You know, he's trying to, you know, be a part of, like, the soccer team and the baseball team. And so I guess I can see where that's a lot for him. And I feel like he gets overwhelmed and maybe a little frustrated trying to get all that accomplished. And it seems like he gets taken out on me. Yeah,
absolutely. Because he comes home, he blows up, and then you ask, what if? What if I'm not a good mom? What if I'm not this? But as you have already pointed out, summertimes you do the same routines. Same routines you do in the summertime, you're doing them during the school year. The only difference is he's in school, now he's got more responsibilities, now he's got a lot on his plate. Now it's kind of like he's more pressured, more stressed. You know, and kids get stressed. I mean, just like us adults, we get stressed. Kids are going to get stressed as well. And so you tell him to do something, he's having a bad day, guess what? He's going to blow up. He's got so much pressure. And then, you know, he's like a Coca-Cola bottle. If you don't just kind of, you know, you shake him up, and the next thing you know, if you don't release that pressure slowly, what is going to happen?
I mean, he explodes.
He explodes. So do you think that this could possibly be an alternative explanation to maybe, instead of thinking, you know, with cognitive distortions, for instance, you think, what if? And a lot of your homework is what if. And for this specific one is, what if my son doesn't love me because I'm hard on him.
Yeah, you have a point. It makes sense, but in the moment, it feels like it's me doing something wrong because he gets angry at me.
Right. And then when he gets angry at you, what's the worst that could happen?
I just feel like he will end up hating me, and that's really scary to think about because I want us to have a good relationship.
Okay. But let me ask you, what is the belief in you believing that thought? How does that affect you?
Him thinking that he may hate me? How does that affect me?
Yeah, how does that affect you?
It makes me depressed.
Makes you depressed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it puts you in a bad place.
Yeah.
Even though evidence shows that, it's just him having a bad day. You guys have good days. You've done the same thing throughout.
Yeah. I just wish, he wouldn't, get so upset at me.
Right. No, I understand. I completely do understand. So if you were going to, maybe talk to a friend and give them advice about, let's say they're going through the same similar scenario or situation with their child, what is something that you would tell them based off of what we just learned right now about him at a certain time, the evidence that doesn't support that, and what you got going on right now?
Yeah, I guess I would say try not to take it so personally, that may not necessarily, be the things you're saying to him that gets him so upset, but maybe try to think about all the pressures that he has on him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's pretty insightful. That's pretty good advice. Maybe you can kind of apply it to what you feel for yourself. What do you think about that?
That would be great. I just hope that by doing that, maybe it'll help my mindset, maybe give me better ways to, communicate with him.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Make you more aware of what he's going through.
Right.
And maybe not let that bring you down so much.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's awesome. So what I want to do is I want to go through and set some goals for the next session. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to possibly think about, at this moment, think about what a goal should be. So what would a goal for you be when you started thinking in those terms?
A goal I'd like to set for myself is to keep a good attitude whenever, he does start getting frustrated.
Okay.
And maybe try to talk to him. He's at an age where he understands now. Right. And so maybe try to, talk to him and maybe, help him realize that I'm not trying, to, be bossy, and maybe, help him more, with schoul, and maybe just find a new way for us to communicate, and to work together.
Maybe sympathize and say, I understand where you're coming from, and, kind of things of that nature.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just remember and recall, this is cognitive behavior therapy, and what we do is we're taking your thoughts, we're taking those negative thoughts that affect your behavior, whether it be being anxious or being nervous or depressed or what have you, and then we want to reshape and give you the tools so when you get those thoughts, you can kind of look at the evidence behind it, change the way you think, and then affect you in a positive way.
Right.
And that way you start feeling better. Instead of feeling depressed, you start feeling better because you've learned the tools just like you have in this session. Listen, I know that my child has had good days in the summertime before. I know that he's in school. I know he's got a lot on his plate. The evidence doesn't support him not thinking that I'm a good mom. You are a good mom. You've already said that before because you guys do the same thing in the summertime. So those are the tools that we want to offer during the session. Those are the things that we want to learn during the session. And so I want to kind of keep you reminded of those things, okay? So just to kind of go over our session for today, we did a mood check, seeing how you were. We went through the agenda. We talked about the previous session just briefly. We went over the homework. We picked out an issue that was most pressing. We kind of dissected that issue a little bit. All right. We set some goals for you where you don't want to feel the way that you feel and kind of change that. And then we went over CBT again and kind of just let you know what the goal of these sessions are. And if you don't mind, what I like to do at this time is invite you to participate in some homework.
Okay.
How does that sound to you?
That'd be good.
Okay. So what I want you to do is, again, every time you start getting automatic negative thoughts and start feeling down and out, I want you to jot those automatic thoughts down. If you can do 2 times a day, that'd be great. Okay. If you could do just 1 time a day, that'd be great. If you do 1 time every 2 days, that's fine with me. But I want you to jot down those automatic negative thoughts, bring them in. I want you to be as specific as you can, okay? And then, like I said, we'll go over it kind of like we went over at this session. And then we're going to see about, are we attaining our goal of not feeling, of feeling the way that you wanted to feel, that you identified.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So you stated when you came in here today during the session that you're at about a 7. How do you feel about the way that everything went down, like this whole session?
I feel really good about it. I feel like there's, hope for me and my son, to improve on our relationship, which of course, makes me feel a lot better. As far as being depressed, I feel like there is hope for us. And so I feel like the session went really well, and I look forward to, working with them this week and seeing what we can do.
Is there anything I can do differently?
Not that I can think of. I think you did good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And just one last thing. You say you're about 7. Would you say you...
Right now, I'm probably down to about a 5. Okay. Still feeling a little bit anxious, but I'm okay.
Feeling better, though.
Yeah.
A little bit. Small steps.
All
right. So, Mrs. Smith, I want to thank you again for coming in to the session, and I will make sure you do your homework and bring it in, and we'll go from there. And again, I thank you for your time.
No problem.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Alrighty.